Hi, I'm Katie from What Katie Did, and today I'm going to tell you about this beautiful Charmode piece from the 1950s. Now, Charmode is spelt Charmode, and it's a brand by Sears, Roebuck and Company. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's an American brand, and so I've just spoken to my husband Richard, and he says because it's a French-inspired name, it should be Charmode, but because it's an American brand, they would have probably pronounced it Charmode, because you have in America you have a chassis, and in the rest of the world you have a chassis. And anyway, that I'm going to go with Charmode because where I am at the moment, I'm actually closer to France than I am to the US. So for me, it's Charmode, and apologies if that's wrong. I picked up this piece at the Girl Can't Help It in San Diego, and the Girl Can't Help It is an amazing vintage store. They used to be in Alfie's Antiques Market in Marylebone in London, and about 10 years ago possibly they actually moved to San Diego because the couple who own it, the woman Sparkle Moore, she's actually from the US originally, and now they've got an amazing boutique in San Diego, and they deal with top-end vintage. It's beautiful, it's expensive, and when I saw this, I just couldn't resist it. They do have a lot of stockings and a lot of lingerie tucked away there, so if you are ever in the San Diego area, then it's a must visit because they do have amazing pieces there. So I purchased this because I hadn't seen anything like it before, and basically it's a waist cincher and panty or knicker combined, and the label Charmode, it was actually part of the Sears Roebuck company, and back in the 40s and 50s they had a variety of stores, and they also did mail order, and they had their own labels within the stores. So Charmode was their lingerie label. And you know, when you go to department stores now, obviously I haven't been because of COVID for a couple of years, but I can remember going to department stores and looking at their lingerie departments, both in the US and the UK, and can you imagine finding something like this? Because when I go nowadays, they're just boring. I mean, I know Selfridges in London, maybe 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, they introduced boutique brands and indie brands like Made by Nikki, and it got exciting. But now it's, you know, the big boutiques are very, very commercial, probably apart from Lafayette in Paris, which has an amazing lingerie department. But apart from that, in the UK and the US, generally lingerie department stores or lingerie departments in department stores are pretty boring and disappointing. So I would have been thrilled to find something like this. Sears Roebuck Company became Sears in the 1970s, which obviously that means everyone knows what Sears is, and even if you're outside the US, you'll know that Sears is the big department store. So this evolved into Sears, which probably has a boring lingerie department like all the other department stores now. This garment is made from a paramesh torso, and it has a nylon with lace over panty and with detachable garters underneath. So it really is an all-in-one garment designed to, you know, hold your stockings up, cover your bottom, cinch your waist in. It is designed to sit right under the bust, and because it's slightly big for this mannequin, it is slipping down. But I guess the idea was you could wear it would reach your bra line, so it would give the illusion of an all-in-one piece, and it really reminds me of, you know, showgirl costumes, and I'd love to create something similar to this. I have spoken to Terry about it, and I said, you know, it's just a pair of knickers, and would people spend that amount of money on just a pair of knickers? And she was like, well, no, it isn't, because it's the whole thing. And I think if we did a matching bra for it, it would look amazing as a set. But we will see. We will see financially and difficulty in making it, how possible it would be. The bottoms are non-stretch, and this, I've tried it on and it fits me beautifully, but the bottoms being non-stretch will make the fit slightly difficult. Obviously here it has a slight loose blouse and blouse and look, because it's slightly too big. But when it's actually worn, it wasn't skin tight on me, but it was comfortable, and it looked really pretty. On the side here, there are 2 opening gaps either side, so you can step into it. So when you undo the hooks and eyes, there is actually room to put it on, because if you didn't have these gaps here, the garment would finish there, and because it's quite high on your hip, there just wouldn't be enough room for you to put the garment on. And that's another thing I'm not quite sure about, because if this was worn tightly, then you would have that bit gaping. So again, fit would be pretty critical if you were going to recreate this. So the back is pretty plain. It's got spiral steel boning, so it's everything back in the day would have had spiral steel boning, and it's something we insist on using in all our shapewear. We don't use plastic boning at what Katie did, but today a lot of brands would use plastic boning. And underneath here you can see the little detachable garters, so you can wear it with stockings or without stockings. I've been trying to think about the aging of this garment. It's definitely late 50s or very early 60s, but I don't have anything more precise than that. It does have a pink label inside, but the pink labels, I've looked at Sears labels, and there's an awful lot of Sears labels and Charmode labels, and they were using pink labels in the 40s, and this definitely isn't 40s because it has polyester in it, and it's actually called polyester. So I'm looking at later rather than earlier when it comes to aging this garment. So I'll take it off and I'll show you what's inside. One thing I do love about vintage lingerie and vintage shapewear in particular is the hooks and eyes. And I know that sounds silly. I'll just lie this lady down. I know that sounds silly, but the hooks and eyes are really, really strong, and you can't get them. I did look, and I did find hooks and eyes like this, but they were very, very, very expensive. I mean, components, hooks and eyes and elastics and suspenders, all things like that, they actually add up, and they make up quite a lot of the cost of the garments. And the hooks and eyes here, they're a really good quality, and they're designed as shapewear hooks and eyes as opposed to lingerie hooks and eyes, and they're really designed to do the job well. The other thing which adds money is the detachable suspenders, and we have done knickers with detachable suspenders before, but it's always a bit of a quandary for me, because if it adds like a retail cost, if it adds £5 to the garments, then how many people would prefer to have the garment £5 cheaper than actually have detachable suspenders that you might not use or want? So that is something that I'm always thinking about when I design things. Inside we have I say semi-sheer nylon. It is kind of translucent. It has a bit of stretch to it, and the lace over the top has no stretch at all. There will be a little bit of give when you're wearing it, but really not very much. And inside here, they have put on the tummy panel, they've put a lining of denier, and this is something I've mentioned in other videos, is the denier adds strength, and obviously because the tummy panel is the cinching bit, this is going to be put under a lot more pressure than the bottom knickers, so they've strengthened just the tummy area with a denier, and this is a trick that we use in our waist cinches as well. When we line the satin with a layer of denier just to make it stronger. And I'm just looking here, and it looks like there might be two layers, but no, it's quite a thick denier, so it's just one layer of denier, and that is to make this garment a functional cincher as opposed to something that just looks pretty. Just checking the boning at the side, and normally you'd put a flat bone where there's any lacing or anything, because it stops it bending out of shape, because spiral bones, they bend both ways, whereas flat bones only don't bend side to side. So, but this one is a spiral bone, and that obviously works well for the garments. As I say, I've tried it on and it works really well. So that is just something to think in my head that if we were going to do something like this, then a spiral bone will work really well. If you do have any questions about vintage lingerie, I am gradually going through my whole collection. If there's something you're particularly interested in, then I could very well have it in my collection. So please let me know if you'd like anything spoken about or talked about, and I'll go inside and do a bit of research about the brand and how it's made, and tell you a little bit about it. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please get in touch and I'll catch up with you soon.